What's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Hope y'all are doing awesome. Back today, day number 9, National Preparedness Month 2025. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about area study. Now, area study. This is a concept that a lot of people, I don't know if they really totally understand what area study means. And it's basically, it's a pretty easy concept. What it is, it's basically know your area. Have a good feel for the area around you, around where you're going to be operating from, the area that you're going to be doing most of your SHTF, whatever, bugging out, your area, if something does happen, how to get out, where and how to go. Because, you've got to have, you got to know who your good guys are, how to know where all your bad guys are. You got to know who your friends or your foes, you got to know all this stuff. And area study, you've got to, if you're legit bugging out, if it's the balloon's gone up and EMP, whatever your worst case scenario is, and you've got to skedat, you got to bug out, know your ways out. No, you got to know all your ways out of town, because your bug out location may be here and you're right here, but the way you get there is blocked. So you need to know all your other ways around. You need to know, area. You need to know your area study, know your people, know your neighbors. And you may not necessarily have to be friends with them, but you got to know them. If they're good people, you just don't associate with them. They may not be see eye to eye with some of the stuff you see with, but they're good people. You got to know that. You got to know your people. You got to know the people around you. You got to know you got to know where your water is. If you're bugging out, you got to know which way to water. We got a 3-day hike over here. We're going to need to find some water. We're going to need to come off over this way and, area study. You got to be able to know you got to know your area. You got to know all of it. You got to know where people are going to come in from, where the bad stuff might happen in your area. Right here is kind of a bad location, in this town. So it might get bad right here. So got to stay away or whatever. And, it's just simple little things like that. Just study your area, know where you're at, know where you're going, know the people around you, know who's got what, who's got guns, who's got your back. If something does happen, they don't necessarily have to be in your prepper group or your bug out army or whatever you want to call yourselves, your tribe. They may not be part of that, but hey, if something happens, they got your back. You got their back. Just a mutual. Hey, if you know something happens, we're fighting this battle together. And you gotta know this stuff. You gotta study your area, basically area study, and that's something that a lot of the preparedness people are kind of missing. Not all of them. A lot of them get it. A lot of them have mentioned area study, but not a lot of them have actually like gone over a ton. But you got to know your area. That's one of the biggest things. Is how are you getting out of here? Who who's good, who's bad, when to go. You know your area. It may not get as bad as some other areas, so you're like, oh, it'll blow over. It'll die down because we're not that. We've got. You've got to know all that. Your hows, your whens, your whys, your wheres. Where are you going? Where are they? Where are they coming? Where would be their most potential coming from? Where's your best way out? Where's the water? Where's the location you're going? How you getting there? Who you taking? Who you protecting that's not? Are you protecting your neighbors? Or are you fighting against your neighbors? Or, certain things, area study. Anyway, this will be a short one today because there's not really a whole lot. There's a whole lot I could talk about area. I could do a full length video on it, but really just to get the gist of area study. Know your area, study it, study the people, know what your Know what you're up against. Know what you're up against. Know where you're up against. Know who you're up against. Everything. Study everything about your area. The roads, the back roads, the main roads, the tunnels, the train tracks, the watering holes, the you know everything. Your neighbors down the street, neighbors next, 3 houses down. Study them. You don't necessarily have to get to know them or talk to them, but just study them, watch them. As you drive by, see what's going on in their house, see what's going on around their yard, see what. I'm not saying spy or stalk on or stalk them, spy on them or stalk them. I'm not saying that, but we want to. You got to know what you're up against. If you see something sketchy going on and keeps going on over at one of your neighbors, they might be one you might want to watch because they might do something sketchy. Anyway, again, short video. National Preparedness Month 2025, day number 9, area study. Appreciate y'all. Get to know your area. Stay strapped. Keep an eye on things. And we'll catch you in the next one.